Flight of the Next podcast. I'm Holly on Gadigal land in Sydney. In Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, we have Erin. And in Ahuriri, Napier, we have Denise. 3 games to chat today. We'll chat the next women, the Ferns, and the next men. Starting out with those next women. Well, it's starting to come together, really, I feel like, for our next women. Samba was back, that helped. Leon got her debut. Also, Zoe Benson, who was only just signed. Vic Essen out with a calf strain, which I think was unfortunate because I think Daniele really struggled in this match. So basically, we were the better team, basically the entire game. And then there was one sort of right in the 86th, we'd given away a foul. The ball's played as a cross to the back post, headed back across the goal, and who else but Rebecca Stott heads it in. There is a hint of her being offside. There aren't the angles and there's no VAR, so we just don't know that. The truth of the matter is that she was left entirely on her own. So you should be picking that. You should be somewhere. Someone should be near that player. Like even if we're looking at a situation where they are in front of you because they're offside, she just made that run totally unmarked. It was a really tough game still, just trying to, they're a very good team. We had quite a lot of chances. We had 9 shots, 3 on target, which is decent for us. They had 3 shots, 1 on target, which was their goal. They had not a single shot in the first half, which really said something. We had a lot of decent chances, couldn't make them work. I feel like they did a really good job in the middle of bullying Bot around. I felt like every time CJ got the ball, they had 2 players like on her, pushing her. I do feel like Daniele, I hope she comes away with this and still has her chin up with a bit of confidence. There were a couple of really bad mistakes. And there was one where I think we were extremely lucky that it didn't wind up in the back of the net. What else to say? Lots to say, to be honest, lots to say. But let's start with you, Denise.
Holly, I don't think I have much to add. I mean, you just you just summed everything up. It's so quick, and so precisely. Listen, they were the better team, the Phoenix. It was. I feel hopeful, but I also feel really sad because you want them to win. That's a tragedy about football. It's not a time trial. It's not a this or that. Like the ball bounces in different ways, and you can just like lose it for just a split second, and then there's Stotty right there going dunk. I'm gonna like break the hearts of New Zealanders. I hate that Stotty. Like that's what I have to say.
Yeah, I think we interestingly made Melbourne City kind of look very average for a team that hasn't lost a game in a long time and, finished the season last season undefeated, except for, I guess, the final. We kind of dominated them. I know that they had more possession, but that's kind of the game that they play. But I think we did really well to kind of let them have the ball. They were playing it around the back. We let them have it. We were patient with it. And then we chose the right moment to press and put them under pressure. And that really worked because they've got a bit of a dodgy keeper too, I think. And a lot of the time, we can let them pass it around the back. And as soon as we went back to the keeper and we pressed her and made her make a decision, that was when we could win it back high, or she'd kick it straight out and we'd get possession back. So we kind of let them play their game a little bit. And I think that kind of frustrated them because maybe they expected us to kind of come through, leave some gaps for them to get through and, find Holly Mack who can flop her way into the box for a penalty or something. But I don't think it quite worked for them. And I think that we were by far the better team. We had the better chances. The link up that we have between Brooke Nunn and Mania Elliott is just looking absolutely deadly. Those two are just running rings around the other team. But it's just we're still lacking that polish, that final finish to get the ball in the back of the net. And we were close. Like we hit the post at least twice. There were so many opportunities we had to get back in that game. And it just didn't come off, and that's kind of been just the story of last season. I think it probably doesn't help that, Samba came off with an injury again. I don't think she was actually looking 100% fit when she was starting anyway. She was kind of hobbling around the pitch a little bit. She wasn't quite mobile as she should be in that position. And I just don't think that she was ready to play. I'm not sure about that decision. And I agree with what you said with CJ Bott. I think that she didn't have her best game because she kind of didn't have a lot of time, and her decision making wasn't the greatest, and she was kind of playing the balls quite erratically. But the rest of the team looked pretty solid, and we definitely should have come away with it 3 points from that game. So to get a loss from that is actually extremely disappointing. And I know that it seems crazy saying that we only lost 1-0 to Melbourne City, but this is the first time we've played 90 minutes against them. And to concede a goal where your substitute comes on and makes kind of no effort to backtrack and pick up a player, it's pretty disappointing, to be honest. It's probably not a good start for Lucia Leon there. She's a bit stagnant, stuck ball watching when she was probably the player who needed to kind of cover back and pick that up. And maybe that's, well, it's the inexperience of Daniele there, who's should be probably yelling at her team to sort it out and get into position and track back there. But yeah, pretty heartbreaking to not get anything from this game. It would have been great to be able to stick it to them at their own home field, but extremely promising, to be honest. And I still believe that, we can be a top 4 team, or we can still win the lot, to be honest. We just need to get that ball in the back of the net and we'll be away flying.
You could hear, with the coaches being so close to the mics, the effects mics on the ground, you can hear Bev constantly orchestrating, constantly orchestrating. Players that are next to her, players are on the other side of the pitch, reminding people when to press, telling people where they should be positioned. I don't know whether she will do this all season or whether they're still in the mode where she's still, what she wants them doing isn't quite right. Because I noticed a lot of times we didn't press very well. So pressing really needs to happen if it's effective at the back. Pressing a defence is you really have to all go at the same time, or the right people go at the same time. And every now and then one person would press and the others hadn't pressed, or they weren't quite in position to press effectively. Thankfully, again, their goalkeeper's not that great, and she did put the ball straight out a few times. I think she kicked it straight to us a few times. So someone running at you will always help. But it felt like that wasn't always quite coordinated. So it was interesting to hear Bev constantly guiding and talking. How have we felt about Bev as a coach? Obviously, we are 3 draws, 1 win and 1 loss very, very early on. And we've had a lot of bad injuries. We're missing 2 starters, for example. Our starting goalkeeper didn't play yesterday. But what have the thoughts been on Bev after 5 rounds?
I'm happy. I think she's in it to win it, and she's in it for all the right reasons, and she is she's dug in. I mean, I'm thrilled that she's in her corner, and I can say that because the first time I was like, I don't know, got a grudge. No, I'm 100% in her camp. I think she's doing a great job.
Erin, did you have any thoughts about Bev thus far?
Nope.
All right. Is that the Jose Mourinho, if I talk, I'll be in trouble, or is that just too early to see?
I just don't know how much we can attribute to Bev or just to kind of the players themselves and how they're on the field and how they're performing, because it's really hard to see. But ultimately, Bev can't go out there and score the goals herself. We have to go out there and score them. The players, not me, but the players have to go out there and do that work. And so, at the end of the day, we didn't do that, and that's on the players. And I'm not sure if what I can't personally see what Bev's decisions are versus what the players themselves are executing, and it's the skill that the players have. So it's probably still early for me to be able to call what's actually what, to be honest.
Are you, Holly? Where do you stand on the coaching this year?
I think she's not had the team that she's wanted. And obviously every coach has to be capable of working with whoever they've got available. Obviously we thought we would be a little bit better off thus far already. Looking at who we had signed, the coach we had. I think we were all hoping that probably out of the first 5 rounds we would have better results than what we've got. Ironically, the winning result was against a team we'd never beaten. but draws against some other teams that are all right, but not great. And then obviously just not getting the ball across the line against City didn't help. So I'm still. She seems very, like I said, hands on. And if you listen to the press conferences she gives, she's very thoughtful. She's, as we all know, she's a very, very good coach. So I'm pretty happy. I did hear that they are going to replace Alyssa and Tessa. Obviously, I'm assuming that the window opens sometime later this month, that they will try to get some kind of replacements. And I don't know what the deal is with injury replacements is with the women, because they changed the insurance for the men that in order to get an injury replacement, the player had to be on at least 300k a season. I'm assuming that's not the case for the women, because there's absolutely no way anyone is on 300k a year, I imagine. Hopefully we do have that kind of money, because it would be good to reinforce in the midfield, just give CJ Bott an extra person with some more experience to be working with. She's got Jale as well, to be fair, and Jale's good, but I do kind of wish that we had Jale further up the pitch. I say that every week, every review, I wish we had Jale further up the pitch. So hopefully, reinforcements from them soon. But yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy. I just think we were hoping to be like red hot away at the starting gun. That's not the case, and that's just football.
Just to pick up on that point, hopefully we'll get a couple players who really want to be with the Knicks and want to be coached by Bev, and hopefully having her will be a draw. For some good players.
It will, and they would have. I feel like the mid-season transfer window, they're not re-scouting from scratch, I imagine. So I would say that they go back to the list of people that they scouted and sort of shortlisted at the beginning of the season to sign for the season. And then they see who's available from there. We have had mid-season signings for the Knicks women that... Do you remember Imana Shabal? She didn't play a single game. Not a single minute. Just didn't even make a squad. I guess sometimes they don't work out, but hopefully we can get something.
I think some of the Scandinavian leagues have finished recently, so you have a player like Liv Chance who's off contract. So maybe that kind of caliber of player is what Bev's looking for. I think there's some football fans out there who are off contract now, and definitely, that's a pretty decent level of football. So that's probably where she's looking.
That makes so much sense to do that. I'll mention our next game, and then we can say how we think we're going to go there and any final comments on the game that we had on the weekend. So next up, the team is staying. They're not actually going back to New Zealand. They're flying to Perth away. It's Friday. I wrote down Friday night, and then I realised that the kickoff is 12 a.m. New Zealand time. So Friday night, Saturday morning, 12 a.m. kickoff time. Slightly better for me because it's only 10 here, 8 p.m. local. I really don't know why they don't play these matches on weekend days, but that's a whole nother, never mind. That's all right. Our poor Phoenix, New Zealand-based Phoenix fans will suffer through another Perth late kickoff. I don't see why we shouldn't beat Perth. We should beat Perth. But they don't even have Kelly Brown anymore. We should beat Perth. I'm going to be pissed. I know that we have a shit away record, but I would be upset if we do not beat Perth, especially having Samba and Leon back, or even just one of them back. Thoughts on that, or follow-up thoughts on the game we just talked about?
Hey, what was the temperature of the game in Melbourne? Was that not a factor?
It didn't look... It looked windy. I don't think it was that hot.
Yeah. I mean, they could be playing Perth, so... I mean, what is that, a 7 o'clock in the evening game for Perth? Yeah. Probably about 7 o'clock. So, I mean, Friday night, 7 o'clock, that's, that could be a fun match for Perth to, have the more of the older kids out. Let's put it like that, It is brutal, just these away trips for the Phoenix. But, again, it's also bonding time. and at least they don't have to come back through customs to go to New Zealand. I will be angry if they don't, get 3 points against Perth. I think this is a very good opportunity just to put a W. So go Phoenix, let's get at Perth. And is there like a Derby trophy or something like that they used to call the Perth Wellington? What was that?
The distance derby?
The distance derby. Let's go win the distance derby.
I don't think they care as much about the distance derby because we have the Sister City Cup for the women's, which is with Western Sydney Wanderers, and we also have the Capital Clash with Canberra. So the distance derby doesn't. I don't think it matters as much for the women's team, to be honest. We already have our other derbies.
The Western Sydney one, they actually have a hardware. It's good hardware. I think the trophy was quite handsome, actually. So yeah, I mean. But regardless, these are the points that you need at the end of the season. You can't go and lose to the teams you're supposed to beat and still expect to be, in playoff contention.
Yeah, Perth have conceded 12 goals in 5 games. That's not a great record to have. The bottom of the table, Perth away is always a tough challenge, but I think this team's up for it. And I think this is the perfect opportunity to kind of get back on it and say, yeah, we're a winning team. We're the team to beat this season, and we're going to actually ship 10 past Perth and punish them for their crimes of being purple, I guess. But yeah, this is one that we definitely should win, and I think if we don't, then it's just going to be another disappointing result. I think we 100% need to win this, and I think we should be.
We need to crush some souls. We need to be known as a team that can do that, and I feel like we haven't ever been that team. And the time is now. Let's crush some souls.
All right. So the Ferns are set for soul crushing. We'll move to the Ferns' second game, which was being soul crushed in the first match. Second match, not as crushed are our souls. But so this was the second game. Tuesday at Cooper's Stadium in Adelaide. Looked like a good crowd. We had Kate Taylor as captain, which was kind of cool. Really big change was Alina Santos in goal for her debut on the back of her first call up to the squad. She is still in college at the moment, so not even a professional at this stage. We had some chances here. We did have some decent chances. 18th minute though, a goal to Alana Kennedy. The ball comes sort of square into the box. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Rasso. Mouse just prods it away, and then she gets clattered by Rasso. And Mouse was the sort of the defender that might have been able to try and close down Kennedy. So the question for me is, was that a foul? Otherwise, it was a good goal for Kennedy, and it meant a lot to her to get it, as you can see, but we'll talk about that. 70th minute, Rasso scores. She just sort of gets to it. There are like 2 players next to her, but she seems to get to it first and put it into the back of the net. How are we feeling about that potential foul, or either of those 2 goals in particular, Erin?
I did think the same for that first goal, but I think Michaela Moore kind of just steps right into the path of Hayley Rasso. And, I don't think there was anything really, and Hayley Rasso couldn't slow down for that. She was already going full speed. I guess she kind of gets the ball, but they do run into each other, and as a result she doesn't quite get the clearance away, and it's just a free shot for Alana Kennedy to just bullet that into the top of the net. So maybe, but I think that in the circumstances it can't really be a foul because there was nothing really anyone could do in that situation. For that second one, that was quite a funny goal, to be honest. I think it was from a corner and 2 players went up to get the ball. They both missed it. And as a result, Katie Kitching didn't see it coming, and it smacks her square in the head, which then deflects off Claudia Bunge's back right into the path of Hayley Rasso to just have a free shot at goal. So it was a bit chaotic, and it's just kind of a Ferns goal to concede, I think. Just no one really knew what was happening. No one really saw the ball at all. It just came through, smacked off 2 people, and then a free shot. So Yeah, two goals there, but much better showing than the first game. I think we had more chances. We looked better. We looked more composed on the ball. Just overall, a good response, I think, to that first game, and showing a little bit more promise than perhaps we were feeling after that first 5-0 beating.
Yeah, I think we were missing those defensive mistakes. 4 of those 5 goals were really defensive mistakes in the first game. There were still some defensive mistakes for sure, but none of them really led to being a goal. I mean, maybe you could argue the bouncing around of Bunge and catching that kind of stuff happens all the time when the ball's played into the box. So yeah, I think we closed down those mistakes. I don't know whether that was a change in some of the personnel. We had some changes at the back where there had been some mistakes. We had quite a few changes. I don't know that Elena Santos did put up some really good saves. I don't know at this stage whether she's as good as or better or not as good as Leet. Obviously, I guess she was just sort of getting minutes. Rather than Leet having gone, oh, she shipped 5 goals, we'll take her off. I think that was probably a matter of Santos getting minutes. And I think she did quite well. Yeah, I think it was positive. I really wish that we had managed to score a goal in one of these games. It would have been beautiful no matter how on earth we had scored it. Unfortunately, we still are not able to score despite some half decent chances in this game as well. So in terms of the window, I think an improvement. What else might we take out of this series? Because it looks like our next games aren't until, I wrote it down, March, the OFC World Cup qualifiers. So we're looking at a few months yet before the Ferns, maybe late February, early March, I think it is. So we're looking at another 2 or 3 months before they play. I open the floor. Would somebody like to talk?
I sometimes wonder about the mental health of the Ferns around these blowout games. I mean, I can't imagine coming to America Emma Hayes is, everyone's auditioning for her and just, flying in. And then when you just incredible athletes. And then they have the subs who are coming in are also incredible athletes. And I know the football Ferns have played USA many, many times before. And so they know what they're getting. But then to put Australia in the next window, I mean, it's a little bit brutal. I mean, Australia's good. There's always the Kiwi-Aussie rivalry, and then to get that beating so hard, it's when there's an extra bit of pressure on that rivalry, I feel like the Ferns need competition that doesn't get to the point of, dropping their drawers. They just, I just feel like they're so exposed sometimes in these really incredible opponents that, I don't know what their FIFA ranking is now, 30 something. I just feel like they need some teams in that. And what's holding that back for around getting teams to come to New Zealand and play? I mean, that's the other tragedy is we can't really go see them. These are teams these are away FIFA windows.
Money. It's money. This is the thing. We're too far away. And we're not a big of an attraction in terms of being like a challenging enough opponent. People will travel to play Australia. They're worth it. They're also a little bit closer to a lot of places, but we're too far away. We're too low on the rankings to really be an attractive opponent to everyone, but sort of that's not down near our level. And also, the reason that these things happen is because someone sponsors it. So the state of New South Wales, Destination New South Wales, paid a huge sponsorship to have the Matildas in Gosford against the Ferns. South Australia, their tourism agency or whoever they are, I think they're the ones who paid for Adelaide. So what has to happen is in order to attract a team to come to New Zealand basically has to front up their whole bill. That's it. I actually talked to Flea about this after the Gosford game, and I said, why aren't we playing in New Zealand? She says, nobody wants to come, and in order to attract someone to come, you have to basically pay their entire bill to make it sort of worth their while, because we're just so far away and not attractive. So that's the problem. And it doesn't have to be Football New South Wales that pays for it, right? It can be external, it can be a city or a region, but I'm guessing nobody wants to put up the money for it. I mean, Wellington is struggling economically. I don't know where Christchurch would be. The other place would be Auckland. Maybe Auckland needs to put its hand up because it's a city that's probably got a little bit more money for that. And they've also got enough, like they've got a large enough population base that you'd think they'd draw a good crowd. But yeah, that's what it is. It's just we're not attractive enough to the point where we just have to pay somebody's bills for the entire thing, and we don't have the money for that, or no one is willing to front up the money for that, which is deeply disappointing. And I surely Football New Zealand can be New Zealand football. I get it the right way around. I hope that they're working really hard to try and find out something to happen. Like, I don't know. That's your problem, though, Denise. That's your problem. It's not. We're not even away. We're not a particularly attractive opponent to have.
It's a bit of a double-edged sword as well, is because we're playing these teams and we're getting kind of thrashed, and so people here are kind of saying, well, the Football Ferns aren't very good. Why would I want to go watch them if they did come here? So we've definitely lost any kind of momentum we could have had from that home World Cup, because it's been too long now between games and we haven't had good results in that time either. So even if we did get them to New Zealand, I think the crowds wouldn't be there. I'll be there, but the crowds wouldn't be there, and then it wouldn't justify doing it again. I don't think it needs to be something huge to be able to kind of get the Ferns back, or even to Matildas levels. The Matildas levels now are insane. If you have a game in Australia, it will sell out. But we just don't have that. We don't really have the players that we can market the team off either. We don't have those huge stars in the WS. We have a couple players in the A-League, I guess, and then some scattered around, but we don't have the draw to kind of bring the crowds in, and we haven't had good results. So it's kind of all of these things combining into just meaning that we're going to struggle to get teams to come here and get crowds here and support the Ferns, which sucks, but it is what it is.
Ouch! That's horrible. I mean, the reality is hard. I don't know. I mean, thank you, Holly, for that insight, and thank you for asking the question from Flea. I don't know, but I think you're right about the big population centers. I mean, I remember some of these matches, actually they had a lot of fans from opposing teams coming. Was it the Philippines? I can't remember who we played, where half the crowd, or at least it felt like half the crowd, was backing the other team. And it felt like a good rivalry and some good matches. I mean, there are some quality teams in Asia, and you don't think that they're that far away. I can understand, trying to get Denmark to come, why would they? But you never know. You have to hustle, and you have to keep trying.
For me, I was going to say, you're right. Asia is not that far away. And if you're smart about it and you pick a country that has a large expat or immigrant community in your country, you can get a good turnout from those communities as well. So in terms of filling your ground, that's also a possibility. But I don't know whether they're just not looking, or there's lots of teams in Asia and they're all quite close together, so perhaps there's a preference just to play other teams in Asia who are nearby. I don't know.
Maybe play Nepal.
Yeah.
Let's go Samba.
It did cross my mind. That would be really, really funny.
That would be wild. That would be legitimately wild. Yeah. We'll see. Well, Denise, thanks for joining us, because we'll have a chat about the men now, and I know that
I just don't have the time.
True. You got to get up and go rowing tomorrow.
No, I'm taking a few weeks off of rowing after the head of the Yarra in Melbourne. That was so cool.
So how did you do in that? Did you win anything?
We didn't know. So we started as intermediate rowers, and 8 of us, and we worked our tail off. Like, some of these rowers have been rowing since their Olympics. Like, the top crew in North Shore Rowing Club where I'm from. I mean, literally, there's 2 Olympians, one person who won the Henley, like all sorts of national champs on that team. So we were like the second crew, and we're just people who learned to row after age 50, right? And that's hard because your body's like different. And so but we were freaking tenacious, and we trained 4 days a week, hitting the weight room, doing yoga, doing all sorts of things to improve our flexibility, our strength, and technique. And rowing's a lot of technique, and so we just did it. And we, believe it or not, the most competitive part of the Yarra, because it's broken into age groups, women from age 55, women over 55 to 59 is pretty much the E class. And so that's the class you have to average 55 or over. And that's a class I rowed in. And we just did really well. There were 19 boats. We passed 9 boats, and we got 4th. And we were pretty proud of ourselves for getting 4th. And Melbourne put on a great regatta. It's just really historic and really fun. So yeah, I haven't been on the pod because I was knee deep in rowing, and I'm taking a little bit of time off and enjoying this. But sports, you don't always have to get first to really enjoy it. I'm competitive as anyone else. Of course I want to get first, but we couldn't have done any better, and that's a really good feeling. So I hope it doesn't always translate in football that the best team wins, but I have to admit it's pretty satisfying to do the best you can and get the best result you could. So on that note, you can talk about the men.
I mean, thanks, Denise. Participation award, yeah?
Yeah, leaving.
All right.
Bye-bye.
So, yes, let's talk about the men. The second derby of the season away to Auckland. Well, we got more than 37 seconds into the game before they scored. In fact, it was the 7th minute that Randall scored. There was a counter-attack. There was I can't remember who did the cutback, but Brooke was sort of just on the penalty spot all by himself into the back of the net, just like that. The next big talking point, 46th minute, just after half-time, Mandreka James, a red for a dog. So I think he loses sight of Cosgrove, and Cosgrove's, whether intentionally or not, so just moved in his way, and he's run Cosgrove over. I think that's a clear dog. So people were talking about Lucas Kelly-Heald being nearby. I don't think he was close enough. To me, that seemed like a clear dog. So 55th minute. So we're 1-0 down at halftime. Obviously, 55th minute, we're with 10 players. Alex Rufer. Ball from a corner, pops up to him at the top of the box, and usually those go into row Z, and from that direction probably would have been to the top of the slide on the hill. No, rifles it into goal, and that was a huge moment. You could see what it meant to him as a club legend, and to the team. He runs straight to where the Knicks fans are and celebrates. Huge moment. And in that moment, despite being one player down and one got only just drawing back, it felt like we could win that game. It really felt like anything could happen. 2 penalties in relatively quick succession. Josh saves the first one. The second one, again, the other penalty. Josh saves the second one. Unfortunately, he parries it back into the path of the freeze. So 2-1 down, 10 men trying to chase. 80th, another goal by Guillermo Mai. We just fought and fought and fought. 3-1 loss. Josh Aloiemi, 10 saves. Massive performance. Huge. Perhaps his best performance for us. Absolutely colossal performance with 10 saves. Now, I know you only saw half of the game, but were you actually there for that half?
Yes, I think I got there just before the end of the first half. So I watched the clip of the goal and got there maybe just before halftime. And then, watched it from the second half. Started the first bit of that second half up on the hill near the top of the slide. So I was waiting for that roofer ball to come hit me. when he hit that, but instead it went into the back of the net. But yeah, from my view, I saw Mandrake James get the red card, but I obviously couldn't really see what was happening. I had the big screen was on this side of me, so I couldn't actually see what was happening. But then I looked at the replay afterwards, and I mean, yeah, it's pretty much a dog. So he's one-on-one with the keeper. He was on goal, and he just pulls him down. But it's also Cosgrove, so just sent him off as well because he's a bit of a flop as well. But yeah, huge game from Josh Oluwayemi. Probably one of his best games for us. It was massive. He actually stopped that from being an absolute blowout. Incredible to save both penalties as well. Unfortunate about that second one going in off the rebound. But yeah, he massively stepped up this game, which was huge to see. But I'm extremely just disappointed with the decision-making from the team to give away 2 penalties that are pretty much the same penalty, knowing what, how Auckland play, how Cosgroves plays, how you're down a player. Just, you shouldn't really be handling players like that in the box, especially the second time. It's just poor game management, and we could have gotten something out of this game, but I think the decision making just wasn't there for us, and it's frustrating to see. And yeah, it's just kind of disappointing. Now that's 5 derby games, 5 losses, but also why are we playing Auckland for the second time already this season? What is up with this draw? Why have we played some teams twice now, and we haven't played some of the other teams at all? That's a really weird draw, and it shouldn't be happening, especially if it's only like 2 weeks, 2 games in between the two. It doesn't make any sense to me.
The draw, I feel like, has always been uneven, and my sense is that the clubs and the league focus first of all on putting their big games in places, because you need to make sure that you got like the stadium right and the right days for your big games. So those would be the derbies, your big blue and whatnot. But yeah, it is very uneven again, and I don't think we can maybe we can partly blame that on how late the draw took to come out, because you have to remember we had Western United teams and then suddenly we didn't have Western United teams. So that might be part of it. You're right on the decision making. Cosgrove has the consistency. He's built like a wall but has the consistency of a wet noodle. I think someone commented online, which is about right. I think we were maybe a little bit close to losing Eze as well. He was on a yellow. Was he? Yeah. He copped a yellow for a foul that wasn't a foul. But he's copped the yellow and then he's lost his shit. Like he's absolutely, you can see he is furious and he's yelling, and it's just like he looks so close to another yellow for dissent. And I kind of wonder whether, because he had just been given a yellow, the ref was less reluctant to pull it out, because I feel like maybe if he hadn't had a yellow or the incident hadn't just happened, potentially you're looking at like a reaction that could be dissent. He was fuming. Like multiple players of ours were coming and like pushing him away. So it could have been even worse. And look, you can win a New Zealand derby with 9 players, but you need to be ahead. That's the difference, is you actually need to be winning in the first place. It's impossible to come back when you're not actually already winning. So the next game for them is this Sunday, December 14th, 3 p.m. at Sky Stadium versus Newcastle. Now, Newcastle's actually been doing pretty well. They beat Adelaide, and did they beat Adelaide, didn't they? Whoops. Erin's disappeared, so I'm going to talk to myself. They've been doing well, but I'd like to think we can try and get a win. The discussion team seems to circle around Chiefy again, at which point too many losses are too many losses. But Erin, how are you feeling about Newcastle?
Newcastle are an interesting team. I feel like they perform well against the top teams, and then they kind of come against these bottom teams and don't quite perform as well. But they've scored goals early. I've seen them score goals early. They're good on the counter, and so it's going to be a tough match, I think. But it'll be a good test for us to kind of see where we are with what we have. Obviously, we won't have Mandrake James because he'll be out for at least a game. So we'll be back to that kind of young back line, which may be exposed again for that counter attack with that high press. But I think we can get something from this game.
I hope so, and I hope there's a decent crowd. I mean, we're sort of hovering in the thousands at the moment, which is not actually worse than City at the moment. And I think there was another team that had Mariners have also had awful turnouts. That wouldn't have been the case last weekend because they played Sydney, so that's always a good turnout. But the weekend before, I think they had 3,000 something. So hopefully we do have people who are still willing to show up. Otherwise, thank you for joining us.